I have arrived at the breathtakingly beautiful Bashara School, an education center closely associated with Sufism. The school offers an opportunity to embark on an introspective journey towards a deeper and more comprehensive understanding of reality. This understanding leads to a state of heightened spiritual awareness and new discoveries within the inner self.
It's a school, so you have to be willing to be educated, to be a student. But it's a wonderful education. There's nothing better.
Not through the precepts of ancient faith, nor through the services of a teacher, nor the powers of intellect or knowledge, but rather by harnessing our innermost selves, our hearts and love, we can accept reality as is. Welcome to Bashara, the joyful tidings.
This place here is the Bashara school. It is a school of esoteric education. Bashara means good news. The name Bashara is a sort of Turkified version of a word which is to be found in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Arabic.
The purpose of this school is for human beings to come and realize their potential to know their reality. This potential is given only to human beings. Other creatures do not have it.
They rise early in the morning, have meditation, followed by breakfast. There's a morning of study or work up until 4 o'clock. And then there is either study with the group or private study. That's followed by meditation again.
The Bashara Center, located at the Chisholm Estate in Scotland, is inspired by the spirit of Sufism, but is not affiliated with any one particular religion, culture, philosophy, or defined practice.
It's the reality of yourself that will teach you. Because if there is a unity to existence, you are already inseparable from that. And so all that you ultimately need to know will come from that.
The core matter is the one who knows what he is. He who knows his self, the reality of his self, knows that that self is the one self of the entire universe. It is the identity, core identity behind everything.
The underlying idea seeks to advance people in the basic spirit of unity that is common to all religions by bringing them together to explore and address human relations with the environment, society, reality, and especially with themselves.
You study the perspective of unity of being. How you practice it, you have to follow what is given inside you. And a part of this process is to learn that guidance is given to us and to recognize it. It's always given to us. It's a question of our eyes opening to seeing it in every walk of our lives.
You call God reality. You call that which you can't explain doesn't exist. You can call it anything, but it doesn't make any difference. You're always looking at the same point.
What I was able to witness here was so clear and so direct, and it was just, I could just hold it. Yes, please, thank you, you know, and it changed everything completely.
My name is Peter Young, and I'm the principal here of the Bashara School. And I had a wake-up call in the form of a car accident. At the time of flying through the air, which probably only took 2 or 3 seconds, the time opened up, and I saw things from another perspective. And while I was recovering from the car accident, that gave me a lot of time to reflect on what I was doing with my life. I realized that I'd been asleep for something like 14 years, and that I'd been seeing things in black and white, and that actually the world was in color. Within a year or 2, I found myself here at Chisholm, and I was working on this building, preparing it for its new incarnation as a school of esoteric education. The first course began in 1975, and I was on it as a student. It's a school without a teacher. It sounds anomalous, but it's the fact.
The heart is moved, but the heart of the heart is not moved.
My job here as principal is not to be a teacher, but to ensure that there is an education going on here in the best way possible, according to what the subject demands.
Absence will be thy narrative, and I shall say to thee, I have made a compact for thee in my vision, but I will not receive thee in my absence.
Yeah, the courses here are designed to access that innate interior knowledge. This is why we don't have a teacher here, because in a sense each person has to discover it for themselves. It can't be taught as such.
Anybody who comes here is a student. So you can work in the garden and be a student. You can work in the kitchen and be a student. You can work in the house and be a student. It's a manner of being rather than what you do. So it's being open to receive knowledge about yourself, about life. That's being a student.
Maria was born and raised in Chisholm with her 2 brothers. She completed a degree in photography at Edinburgh University and stayed there for a while, until one day she decided to return and begin studying the way of the Bashara.
I started asking questions when I was a teenager. Started asking questions about the place and found that there was something very interesting in it. What I heard and what I understood about the education here was like a glimmer of light. I need to follow that. I was here for 3 years. I was working in the office, working in publicity and the secretary, and then in October I became a student. Part of the day of the course involves work on the estate or in the house, in the kitchen. And it's a wonderful time to let these studies, this work that's been going on in the head, integrate into the whole being, understand it deep, and it does affect everything. Respect the plants and the food and the house that you live in. You don't take anything for granted. And you can take that wherever you go. You can take that to your job, to your family, to your home, to the things you know best. That's the place to take it.
Very kind. Thank you. I was serving in the military as an officer, and I left the army, and I came to think about what I was going to do next here in England on holiday. And I was hitchhiking around, and I arrived here. I mean, when I arrived here, I didn't even know about the existence of this place. In fact, the first time I heard that there were courses in this place was when I came and I knocked on the door, and a young man opened the door and said, "Ah, you came to do the course." I said, "What? What course?" And that was the first time I heard that there was such a thing. And indeed, I did do that course. The thing which for me was always important about this place, that it was always explained and defined as a school. We happen to believe that the way of religion is on the wane, and what matters is that people say, oh, this is spirituality, and what they call spirituality is that sense of a spiritual life which is interior and not guided by an external framework.
Avi Abadi has effectively applied Bashara philosophy to his personal life. He is a successful businessman and a gifted high-tech specialist. Like many visitors before him, he returns often to serve as a tutor.
In my education before I came here, it was mechanical engineering, and while it did have abstract subjects, the whole thing had a very, very practical slant. When I came here and I was introduced with the study material, it was the first time that I had to learn how to think in abstract fashion. The abstract thinking gave me tools to clarify the questions that were in me all the time about what is the meaning of my existence. Human beings are afraid to face the unknown. And when we're facing the unknown, that's a situation that we don't know something. So we try to fix the unknown. And this kind of knowledge is fixing and limiting ourselves. I always wanted to be a lawyer, and I became a lawyer, and I retired as a lawyer, and I died. If you're prepared to say, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want to be, let existence, let what happens show me, rather than having a premeditated line that I have a goal and that's where I'm going. You don't leave possibilities to happen. This kind of knowing is very, very limiting. We say, I don't know. Let the circumstance, let the situation show me what is next to me, and trust in it.
The truth is just another one of those names referring to the ultimate reality. We could also call it consciousness, we could call it being, we could call it truth, we could call it love. All of these words mean the same reality. They all refer to the same reality, but of course we have different faculties. And because of those different faculties, they have different names. People essentially are extremely beautiful. They are a hidden treasure. That hidden treasure is there to be discovered by each person, the hidden treasure within themselves. That discovery is completely transforming, and yes, this beauty shines forth. It might not be conventional beauty, but it's nonetheless, it is beauty.
Unlike a lot of places, it's important to enjoy life. And food is nourishment. Food's energy, and it gets transformed. And it transforms us. If the food is cooked with love, then it helps us.
A kind of complete experience, food. You know, when you eat something, it penetrates you completely.
I mean, it's nourishment. It keeps you alive. It gives you pleasure. We can't live without it, but also it's something of huge artistic merit. It's something that elevates the soul, makes people feel good. It affects mood. The amount of work people do, you know, the amount of contemplative work, the study, they deserve good food, actually. It's part of it. Lifting the soul. It's hard work being here. You should eat well, not be made to suffer. It's difficult enough facing yourself as you are.
It's an opportunity for me to be conscious in what I'm doing. It's an opportunity for me to be in service to my world, where I live. So ultimately, all service is to God. All service is to reality itself.
Service isn't about doing things for other people or being helpful. At least here, it's about being yourself. Most of our problems consist of not being ourselves in some way, of being a kind of borrowed self or an unreal image we have of ourselves. So real service is being yourself. Now that automatically is a kind of expansive condition, so therefore you end up automatically pouring water for people at the table, or seeing that someone needs something and responding to it, because that's the natural human condition.
The Bashara spirit is continually celebrated in every moment, even in the tiniest details of beauty and abundance that the world has to offer.
I was born in Japan until I was 16. My father came to work in London. I met David in London when I was doing the second art degree. And then we got married. And David had studied and worked here in the 80s. And he brought me up.
It was a natural thing for me to do. I met Hiroko, fell in love, we got married. I brought it to the most beautiful place I know, the most important place I know.
Since Hiroko is taking a course at the center, she and her husband David are now living on the Chisholm estate and raising their 2 children there. Bashara is an integral part of their everyday lives.
Honestly, don't remember any definite point of turning to anything in the way. It's been shown slowly.
It's like the questions, there's an underlying reality to the question, and it just shows you bits of itself all the time. And so there'll be an answer that works for this moment or shows you what to do next. And then similar circumstances 3 days later or sometime in the future, you require a completely different response.
They're not Japanese, they're not English, they're not, they're them. And this is not what I planned, this is how it turned out to be so far, but hopefully they'll find themselves.
Well, there is an old saying which says that the seeker of the truth, must be in the world, but not of it. That is, he acts and he lives in the world, he has a profession. However, the core, the meaning of his being is not to progress his career and to make more money, per se. The core is the search for truth, driven again by his passion for it.
Besides being a retreat, offering relaxation, tranquility, learning, and a chance to take part in the estate's routine activities, the center provides ideal conditions for isolation and introspection.
This is a retreat cell that we've been building for the last 11 years. It came into service just last year, and it's a place where some of our students, the people who've done the long courses, can come and spend a week in solitude by themselves in this specially designed space. We do need isolation from time to time. It's a well-known spiritual practice of retreat, not really from the world, because we can't get away from being in the world, but a retreat from all our particular circumstances, like being employed, being a father, all our adjectives, if I can use that word. Withdraw from all the habitual forms of stimulation that we have and simply be. So we sit in meditation, breathe, and experience being alive.
The underlying factor in all meditations is touching the point in yourself which isn't troubled by thought. So it's trying to sink into that place which isn't touched by thoughts and concerns and worries and all of that nonsense that goes on all the time. And it comes, it never stops coming, but just sinking.
In this school we have four, let's say, pillars: study, work, meditation, and the area of spiritual practice, including what we call zikr, or remembrance.
Questions are life. They are the stuff of life. The problem with answers is they are ends, they are conclusions. But the questions are more important because the questions are where the energy is. Kind of openness, keeping your heart open, keeping your interior open, which is work. You have to work at it. Because there are things that are constantly trying to close it down. You know, negativity of one form or another, habitual relationships, the way you perceive people, and there's all kinds of things that can close you down, but keeping it open is the work.
When we are prepared to face the unknown, we open ourselves to possibilities which are beyond what we know. We feel it is a threat to our own self-existence, to our idea of our existence. To face the unknown, to open yourself to possibilities, takes a bit of courage and a leap of faith, if you want.
We can't promise you anything. That's entirely up to you and the effort that you bring to bear in coming to know yourself. What we can offer is the conditions that you can follow if you have the willingness to put yourself under it. But all change is your responsibility and not mine.
If you expect things to happen to you, if you expect enlightenment, you're going to be very severely disappointed because what you're experiencing is no other than real life, but with a lot of the illusory pressures taken away. A lot of the things that are distracting in the world taken away, which makes it easier to see what's really going on.
During the winter, there are the long courses, but we do receive visitors as well during that time. But the best time to come if you're a visitor is during the summer. There's a program of shorter courses, or there's work in the garden, or simply to take time out and take stock. The best way to come, in my view, is to come as a student and try and take part as fully as possible. That's the way that a person will get the most out of their time here.
Who's invited? Anyone. Anyone who has a question. Anyone who has a question about who they are and what their place is in life, in reality.
The outcome of this course is completely individual and private. Most people who open up to this idea will become the center of their life, the center of their search. They will go to the world, they will live as everybody lives, strive for living, but the core of their life would be that love to know themselves as no other than the reality.
If it doesn't bite you in the heart, burn you and change you, keep you fresh, there's no point.
It's not that you look to another to tell you. The aim is that you discover it in yourself. Somebody once said, if somebody else tells you something, you're fed but you're not nourished. When you discover it in and through yourself, then you're truly nourished.
The most we can do while talking to people, if they ask, is try to help make them aware that actually they do have the same need. But it's not a situation like a Bible bashing. You must come and do a course. You will be a much better human being. You will be a happier person. If he is the only guide, we cannot go and try and guide people. We have to let guidance happen within them and for them to recognize it. I'm a lot happier than I was before I came to the school and I did the courses. To say that I'm perfect and that I do not have desires and things that I want and don't get fulfilled, it will be nonsense. No, I don't know the answers, but I have much better questions than I had when I first came here. Much better questions.